come at a cost,
Well, definitely.
right? So you might be an excellent mathematician, but you wind up being a terrible person.
Hey, yeah, that happens, eh? Also, many people have sort of criticized the way the education system is structured, saying that it only favors a few and the rest are just sort of forced to fend for themselves, you know. Oh, you know, you just go along and see how it is. What are your thoughts around sort of the structure of the education system?
Sure, look, I mean, before we, by education system, I'm going to assume that you're speaking about South Africa in particular. But before we even go there, I'd just like to speak about education in general. Okay. I think worldwide there's been a misalignment of what education is and what we expect it to be, what it means for different people, and academics, right? So very often, actually more often than not, and there was a quote, one of my favorite quotes, is do not ever let your academics get in the way of your education, right? And what that means is that academics only form part, a subset of your education overall, right? And regarding the education system, and this applies anywhere, right? What you find is that children are spending more time at school than they're spending with their families or spending with their friends, etc. So this education, so-called education and schooling, is now, you know, informing the people that we have in society, right? So surely our education should branch out to things further than mathematics. Yeah, we have LO, right? But that's 1/7 of, you know, your matric syllabas, right? And to be quite honest, our life orientation syllabus is a joke, right?
It's not the best.
And do you think that 1/7 of your education as a person, 1/7 of who you are, or rather how the education system would like you to develop, should be based on, you know, your personality, how you interact with other people?
So it's only 1/7.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a catastrophic failure on that part. And then regarding the academics, how good are the students that we're putting out, etc. You need to ask yourself big questions about that as well, right? So we've changed to what this outcome-based education, and there's all sorts of reviews. But quite honestly, our education system's a huge mess. It's a huge mess. We have this concept that people must pass matric, and people, even in matric, people that come away from matric 5, 6, 7 A's, get to university and they fail.
It's dismal, man.
And they fail. Not because they're not clever, not because they're not working hard, but because our schooling systems are not developing the propensity to search for knowledge.
Yes.
People aren't thirsty for knowledge.
They just get this given, and this is all you're doing.
It's just work to do.
Yeah.
It's not a way of life.
It's true.
It's not a way of life, and it won't just happen. It's not natural. It won't just happen.
So what do you think needs to change? By saying change, I don't mean sort of in the broader education system, because obviously you can't change it in a day. But in everyone's lives, sort of people suffering through this. Because I feel like it's quite a big problem, because we're all suffering through this. We're all students here, you know, just being thrown into this ocean. And what do you think is best for each individual to do to get themselves out of that mess? Is it possible to get out of that mess? That's what I'd like to know.
Look, I think that this sort of discussion, you know, whether having it with someone or more importantly having it with yourself, is very important. And this is the sort of high level social understanding that we want schools to educate people with. I just had the fortune of going to a really good school. My parents managed to get that right for me. But even so, I mean, I recognize quite a few failures from my school, and, you know, even greater failures from other schools. You know, that's not to say that I think that, you know, one particular system is better than another, but essentially, what we want to do is, the ideal situation would be equipping people with the ability to introspect. Okay. So for someone to sit down and say, okay, fine, self, you know, what do I want out of life, right? And as I said earlier, what am I doing now to ensure that I get what I want out of life? Because a lot of people create expectations of themselves, or create you know, a sense of, you know, this is where I want to be. I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. But what are you doing now to make sure that you're 30? Because now you're what? I'm 21 this year, right? So I'm 21. I want to be a millionaire by 35. Yes, definitely I'm going to do it, right? But what are you doing at 21 that's going to make you a millionaire at 35? What are you doing at 22? What are you doing at 23? What are you doing at 24? And by the time you get to 35, you're shocked. Because you're 35 and you're still sitting on 100,000 or whatever the case is.
Not even sometimes.
Not even, right?
Yo, it's intense.
So yeah, people just need to ask themselves a big question, and it's not nice sometimes.
It's not. Being honest with yourself is not.
It really isn't, you know? But unless you're able to be honest with yourself, I don't see how you can be honest with anyone else.
Yo. Thank you, man. Thank you. Those are very, very wise words. I was watching this video, and it basically it was sort of summarized. It says that the international education sort of structure was based very much on the industrial age, where it was important to get just a piece of paper that says you can do this, you can work this machine, and you get your wage and you feed your family. Basically, that's what it was all about.
Sure.
And what the video was saying is that even in today's age, we're still using the same patterns and trends that we've been using the industrial age in today's, you know, age.
Sure.
And it's not working. Like, it's not.
No,
you know what I mean? Something's got to change. Something's got to give. Whether it's you standing up to your parents or any sort of structures that are, you know, against you. I think, obviously, the first thing to do is just to be honest with yourself, as you said. Speak to yourself. Pull yourself towards yourself. Can I get an amen? Amen. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think that's only best. What do you have to say to sort of people out there, sort of a final word to them?
Jeez, there's quite a bit, right? But I think the main point is that you need to do what you need to do, right? So only you can determine what you want out of life, and only you can determine how you're going to get there. There's no one out there that's going to have a formula for you or a recon or whatever the case is, and I don't purport to have that for myself even, right? But the point is that life is a journey on your way there. So along the way, you're going to have to change your plan. Along the way, there's going to be people that can help you with your plan. But the point is to utilize every single resource that you have at your disposal. If you speak well, use that. If you're good at maths, use that, right? Because a lot of people find themselves with skills, with talents, and not using them, you know, whether it be using it through your education or be using it otherwise, right? And if people talk about money, etc., money will come. If you do anything excellently, money will come. I mean, the other day I was reading on the internet, there's this lady, sorry I'm sidetracking.
No, it's fine.
There's this lady on the internet, and basically she's making millions from selling bees.
Can you imagine?
Bees, guys.
Bees, little
honeybees. She's making millions.
What?
And I mean, for something like that, I mean, who would ever think of that?
Can you imagine?
I mean, just
selling bees, millions.
Who would ever think of that, right? So people shouldn't say, you know, actually no, you're not going to make any money. Don't make music or whatever.
So you say we should take some young butterflies and go sell them?
Right. whatever. If you love butterflies and you're the best at making butterflies, who wouldn't buy your butterflies? No, there's a risk. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely a risk, right? So, I mean, even dropping out of school, why not, right?
It's a big one.
But you need to be sure of yourself, right? Or even if you're not sure, you need to be able to back yourself. You need to be able to say, you know what, actually I'm gonna put in this many hours a day. Guys are going to lectures, they're doing 5 hours of lectures, 2 hours of studying a day, 7 hours, right? I'm gonna work 7 hours a day to become the best butterfly, you know, producer, whatever the thing is. You know, there are Richard Bransons out there. They definitely are out there, right? And granted, like I said, there's a huge risk, because if you look at the number of Richard Bransons and you look at the number of desk slaves, there's probably more desk slaves than Richard Bransons who are wealthy and who consider themselves successful, right? But you need to ask yourself how happy each one of them are. Because that's a cost in itself.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Spoken like a true wise man. thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure to meet you.
As he told you, if you have a talent and you're passionate about something, do it. One life, one voice, one dream. Thank you.